everyone, it's Ms. Olson, and today we're going to look at how we can create our positive affirmation trophies. There's 3 things I want you to remember before we start. Number 1, as you build up with the clay, it's not going to stand up tall, so you're going to want to turn it on its side as you build. And if your work needs any support, you can place a paper towel under it on your tray to dry. The second thing I want you to remember is you have scoring and slipping tools in the container. The slip is not just the water, it is the gooey part that you can pull out of here to put on your work. And then we also have forks and pencils to carve, add texture, and score and slip. The last thing I want to say before we start is you can also blend. So blending would be taking your clay tool or any popsicle stick and pushing the clay together where you want things to attach. Last but not least, remember that since it's the new year and any time in the year you can set goals for yourself, but we want to pretend like this positive affirmation that uses things that we are passionate about and our personal goals in life can actually come true, kind of like a vision board. So if your trophy was to come true, does it have everything on it that you want? Number 1, the last time we were here, we started by making our base, which was 1 slab or a half slab, and then starting to build up. Mine is feeling a little bit leather hard in some spots, but yours should either be wet clay or leather hard. Leather hard is just a little bit drier, but it's still workable and movable. The top of mine is definitely still wet clay. So what we want to do is think about our composition, look back to your plan. In my personal plan, I actually had stilts building up. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make your work even taller than it already was. And also I didn't put my mini students in mine yet. So I'm just going to get out one of my slabs. You should still have scrap clay from last week in your bag. Some of you put whole slabs in there. Some of you had half slabs. I want to remind you too that your popsicle sticks, and again, I don't recommend ripping apart your work if you had something that you liked, but I just looked back to my plan and I remembered that I wanted to build it a little taller. So I'm going to use a popsicle stick to do a straight edge cut here just by pressing it down. And then I'm going to build those 2 stilts. Maybe you do 3, up to you. Now that I have that, I'm going to use this part as my new slab since this one's looking a little bit not sturdy. A half slab is great for a base. On the bottom of any base, even if you have to do a new one today, should have your name and your class code. Once we are finished that, I'm also going to make sure that my stilts that I just built have a straight edge as well to build on. You can use rectangles like this to build taller, or you could also do coils. The coils are going to be harder to stay straight. These ones are already straight, so that's why I'm using those. So what I'm going to do is try to get them centered and also so that they can lay flat. You may also want to build directly onto your tray so you don't have to move it later. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start building. I'm going to make sure that my name and class code are on the bottom of my main slab. I'm building it up. I'm going to get some slip here on my pencil. Scoring is making X's where you are attaching, roughing it up a little bit. Slip is the clay goo or clay goo. So make sure you do both of those things, score and slip. You can also score where it's going to be attached. And then blending would be the last step. So I scored both pieces, got my slip, and I pressed it on. Score and slip. Now that I've straightened those out, I'm going to take the other base that I just discarded, flatten it out a little bit, maybe even make it a little, actually I kind of like the length. That's cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to score. Reuse as much clay as you can. If you have a slab, you can sketch anything into it. That's what I'm going to go over to today. Sketch first, cut after you're ready. If you have another piece, you can also roll out a new slab. We don't want to waste any clay. If you have a slab that's not ready to be used as a slab anymore, you can also roll it into a coil or roll it into a sphere. Reuse as much clay as possible. So this is my base. And you need to think of what's top heavy. So this base is actually stable because it's very, very flat. And this piece that's thinner, even though it's wider at the top, it's actually thinner. So it's not as thick, it's not as heavy as the bottom. So you want to build smaller as you go up. And then I have my next piece. I kind of wish this was a little more creative, this square here. So I'm trying to brainstorm in my head what it could be. It could be a painter's palette. I think that would work. So I'm going to sketch. Let me show you the sketching part. I'm going to sketch first what I want it to be. So I'm going to sketch lightly a little painter's palette. Obviously, I could leave a carving into it if I wanted to. That's another option. But I'm going to have to decide, do I want this to be a painter's palette, sketched in like that for stability, or do I want to risk cutting it? I think I'm just going to trim the edges a little bit because I don't want it to be too crazy. So I'll just kind of make it a little more rounded without taking the stability away. You have to constantly be thinking about the stability of your piece. Is everything still going to be attached? So I like that. It's still carved in, but I didn't take too much away. Now that I have my painter's palette and my globe and my paintbrush still there, I can score and slip this on. I do want this base part where it's attaching to be as flat as possible. So I'm actually going to cut that a little bit flat. And I'm going to score right there, get my slip from my slip container, put it on, and then go get my scoring and slipping going on the actual piece where it's going to stick. And then I also want to do some blending once I feel like I have everything I want. So I'm pressing it together. Let's test her. She's a her now. And again, I could make this more female to look more like me now if I want, but I'm okay with the figure representation for now. I did not put my mini students, but I think I could see them standing here. Or maybe even one little group of mini students down here. I think I'd like them up here with me. So I have some extra pieces of clay. No need to restart or grab a giant slab if I have extra clay for these mini people. And I just want little mini figures. That's a very rough estimate. And I'm going to start to score and slip them on. All right. Have a great art class. If you need to support anything at the end, you can place the paper towel underneath to make sure it's flat, because however we let this dry is how it's going to stay. Have a great art class, and I'll see you next time.